For some people, the outdoors is a hobby. For others, it's a lifestyle. Torque wheels are built for the ones who chase sunrise on the water, track game through the timber, and spend weekends towing boats, campers, and ATVs to the next adventure. With a full lineup of wheel sizes and fitments for trucks, SUVs, vans, trailers, and RVs, Torque wheels are made to match your lifestyle and your rig. Wherever you go, whatever you haul, go with confidence. Visit torquewheels.com to find a retailer near you.
Hey, it's Bill from the Bill Simmons podcast. FIFA World Cup 26 fans, listen up. As the official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26, Michelob Ultra is giving away $1 million worth of FIFA World Cup 26 tickets and prizes. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26. Michelob Ultra FIFA World Cup 26 superior access, no purchase necessary. Open U.S. residents 21 plus, begins on December 1st, 2025, ends on July 31st, 2026, multiple entry periods. Visit www.MichelobUltra.com/superior access/FIFA World Cup 26 for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
Welcome to the Casting Across Fly Fishing Podcast. I'm Matthew of castingacross.com, where I explore the quarry and culture of fly fishing. Episode 401. We'll start with a few administrative details before we get into the questions, comments, and accusations portion of the podcast. One actually kind of has to do with an accusation. But first and foremost, thank you for all the positive feedback and all of the listens and downloads for the 400th episode. That makes my kids happy. It makes me happy. And I think it makes you happy too. So that's all very good. They had a blast doing it. I had a blast recording it. It was fun listening to it with them. It just is a special thing that I get to do with my boys and share with anybody and everybody who listens. So that was episode 400. But something that it came up last week actually is some audio issues. And I think it all boils down to the laptop that I have. This is a great laptop. I bought this laptop for video editing back during COVID. So as you probably are aware, I am in ministry, and back during the COVID years, I was an associate pastor at a church in Massachusetts, and one of the things that fell under my job responsibilities was like media and things like that, although that's not what I'm trained in. But especially during COVID, when at first we thought we had to stay far away from people and that was going to, save the world and whatnot, I was doing all of that. And so instead of doing it on my iPhone, I got a nicer laptop. Well, even though it still does a lot of things well, it struggles to handle audio projects. And so even though I have a really nice microphone and recording setup that I bought for some projects for church, it still kind of kirks out. So all that to say, you notice probably a variability in the audio quality over the last, 15 or 20 episodes. I got a number of comments from people saying, you keep banging on things. I think, was that called misophonia or something like that, where you can't handle noises? I can appreciate that. Like if I'm driving and I hear something ticking or rubbing or whatever, I'm going to lose my mind if I can't solve it or fix it. My dryer is slightly out of, balance. I can't handle it. So I can appreciate that. But the new nice microphones, when they're working well, they're hypersensitive. But when my computer's not working well, the audio drops out and stuff like that. So I'm back to using the microphone I've been using since day one. And if I get a new computer or I figure something out, then we'll go from there. Some people have said, why don't you add a Patreon account? And then, if every listener, gave $1, then, you'd be able to, buy all sorts of new equipment. It's not a bad idea. I haven't done it. And I don't know. If anyone feels strongly about that or they want my Venmo or whatever, then let me know. All right. Well, all of those things behind us, let's talk a little bit about your questions, your comments, your accusations. I love how every 10 episodes, or if I hit these big milestones, every 50 episodes, I actually, push it to, this is 401 as opposed to 400. But let's just get right into it. Things that you have written, and I actually haven't even responded to Ryan yet. Ryan sent a great email that I was actually thinking about this exact same issue, and so it was kind of cool I got an email from him a couple of days ago. It says, "Hi, Matthew. Great job as always. Nice to hear your boys again. Love hearing kids explain things. It's hot here in Wisconsin." Actually, let me back up there. Love hearing kids explain things. That's huge. One of the things I've talked about over and over again on the podcast is if you can explain something to a kid so that he can understand it and then articulate it back to you, that is, in my opinion, one of the true measures of being able to teach. and mastery of a subject. All right. It's hot here in Wisconsin. This is what Ryan is saying, which made me think of stream temps. I do have a traditional thermometer. However, a year or so ago, I found a stick-on one from Kling. Kling makes a bunch of magnetic and other stick-on products for fly fishing. I have one on 2 different nets. I found that it is a lot easier to stick the net further down in the water column and to see different temps other than just the surface. I find it much easier than a traditional thermometer. Thanks again, Ryan. All right, so awesome recommendation, Ryan. The stick-on thermometer from Kling. I've seen other brands make it too. But I agree. One of the nice things about having a thermometer like this is, one, if you stick it on your net, it's always going to be with you. It's one less thing to jangle and dangle around. It's, some thermometers can be broken or go out of calibration if they get whacked too hard. So it's nice to have one that doesn't function in that way. But then also, I really appreciate your point about how they can be used in different locations within the water column. And here's why this matters. I have been fishing in a few spring creeks where there are shallow, sunny, like unshaded spots where the majority of the stream is not only cold enough to warrant fishing, but like cold. But there are spots where the water warms up significantly. And so if you take that surface temperature, you're going to say, oh, I can't fish here. I don't want to be irresponsible. I don't want to, certainly I don't want to be scoffed at by somebody online or something like that. But you go down deeper, or, you move into the current, and you're going to get a totally different read. I mean, a swing of 5+ degrees. Okay. And that's a big deal. I mean, for a fish, once you hit those certain temperature thresholds, and we're not going to go into the detail about that today, but all that to say, taking a surface read by just putting your hand underwater with your thermometer isn't going to necessarily give you an accurate read of what the river's true temperature is where those fish are. Now, what this does not do is give you license to find the deepest, coldest hole and stick your thermometer on there and say, oh, ergo, I can fish anywhere and everywhere in this water body because I got a good read that says this is cold enough for trout. That's not what we're saying. So I think that it is a good idea to have something like this. I just have a traditional thermometer, but if this is something that you are very interested in, if you really want to make sure that you're fishing well and fishing responsibly, I think Ryan's advice, whether it be this product from Kling or another product that you can acquire, is a really good idea. Because again, once you hit that high 50s, you just need to be aware of where you're fishing and how you're fishing. And certainly once you get to those mid 60s and higher, it's just not worth it. So, it's just not being a good steward. It's not being wise. So there you have it. Again, thank you, Ryan, for reaching out. And I'm sure I'll email you back here in the next few days. All right. Next piece of feedback is a relatively recent comment on a relatively old YouTube video. So years and years ago, I made a video called Best Small Stream Fly Rod for Under $100. And it was on the Risen Fly Fishing Genesis. So if you hop online right now, it says that it is $129 retail. Okay. So with that said, somebody going by the YouTube handle of Mr. Moose, with some numbers after it, he said on this video, touting the value of the Risen Fly Genesis, being under $100, he says, I wish that was true today. That's a heck of a deal. All right. So I've gotten this comment a number of times over the years because it's not that I don't care. I just don't have the time to go back and edit things based on price. I mean, there's dead links all over the place. I was a part of like affiliate programs with fishing stores, at different points in time. And I just don't have the time, energy, effort, or really the concern to go back and change all those links, adjust all the prices, stuff like that. So, again, he's right. If you go onto Risen Fly Fishing's website today and look at the Genesis, the 7-foot 3-weight or 7.5-foot 3-weight, whatever it is, it does ring in at $129. That said, I know that I get emails from Risen Fly Fishing all the time Not so much that it's obnoxious, but enough that I see them consistently, and there'll be 20% off coupons. That they're routinely there. So some very quick math would tell me that would get that price from 129 down closer to 100. And you know what? Honestly, even with inflation and all that sort of stuff, $129 is a heck of a deal for a little 7-foot 3-weight. That is a real treat to cast. I think I've said it before. I like fishing this rod alongside my really high-end rods because at the end of the day, a lot of these blanks are coming out of the same manufacturing area in Southeast Asia, and especially with these Korean blanks, they're just getting a different coat of paint, different hardware, and so I really like the Risen Fly Genesis. The 5-weight, and 5-weight's a lot of fun. That's a rod that I hand people all the time when I'm taking them fishing in open water. But for small streams, it's not only a rod that I like to hand to people to fish. It is a rod that I like to fish with myself. So again, kind of both to answer that particular question or comment, but then also as a bit of a reminder that if you find an article from 2018 and the prices are off, all right, then that's just the result of 8 years of life moving on. All right, next bit of feedback. This is another YouTube comment, and this is actually a really good one. So I made another video very recently called 3 Fly Fishing Gadgets You Want to Have and Not Need. 3 fly fishing gadgets you want to have and not need. And one of those gadgets I have is a little wader and knot kit from Loon. So there's a little tube of wader repair epoxy and a little tube of knot epoxy. And some people are like super shy about epoxy, but I just don't get in your hands; it'll be golden, right? But one of the things that I mentioned in that video is that if you have a disastrous wader situation, then the epoxy is not going to fix it. If that happens, you're done. You're either going to be fishing wet or you're going to have to wrap it up if the water is too cold. When we talk about and this is a bit of an aside, but I think it's worth mentioning here. To fix big disasters in waders, there's a couple things that you can do. I have used that Flex Seal tape, and that has worked really well. You just want to make sure that the corners get rounded off, and that you potentially cut it so that it kind of bends with the contours. So like say you rip the inside of your leg above the knee. Then don't just put on a rectangle. First of all, take those 90-degree angles and round those off with your scissors, and then you can maybe even kind of create like a big smiley face shape so that it kind of bends around your leg. And you can do other things too. I've done that, and then I've gone in with the UV activated epoxy around the edge just to create a seal around that seal. But my son's fished with a pair of waders that's got like a 6-inch gash in them that was fixed that way years ago. Not a problem. So yeah, if it's catastrophic, the little epoxy tube isn't gonna fix it. But if it is a small hole, so you go up against a thorn, a piece of barbed wire, you put your 1/0 hook through it, which is something that I've done, then you can use this to fix it. But I made a mention of pinhole leaks. So Veteran Fly Fishing, numbers in there too on YouTube, says, how are you going to find a pinhole in your waders as you are out fishing? Period. Not question mark, but that's okay. That's a great question. How are you going to find a small little leak that you can't necessarily see? Well, you got a couple of options here. Okay. Step one is you look at the inside of your waders. All right. You should be able to find the spot where it is wet. And this may only give you like a few square inches of range of where this leak might be, but it's going to at least give you a place where you can start. What I would do then is one of two things. I would say the easiest thing and the thing that prepares you for the repair a lot faster is to take your phone flashlight, if you don't have a headlamp or another flashlight on your pack or in your vest or whatever, and put it up against where you assume that small leak is. If you see a bright spot, then that's a good chance that is where that small hole is. Just by the nature of woven nylon, especially some of these nicer fabrics, they are going to be more dense, so they're going to be hard to see with the naked eye. But doing this may, again, give you a great idea of where that hole is. And say you don't have a perfect idea, but you can tell this is generally within like an eighth of an inch. This is where that hole is. If you're out on the stream and you have an eighth of an inch of accuracy, then you just make like a dime-sized patch repair of epoxy on the inside and the outside of your waders. I do this by applying it where I definitely know I can see it, and then letting that dry, and then using my finger to kind of anchor that spot on, say, the inside of the waders. If I've made that repair on the inside first, then I find and I meet my fingers on the outside of the waders, and I make another repair in that same spot. And this is going to fix it more often than not. Say the flashlight thing doesn't work. Something you can do is you can apply more water on there, and you can move things around. And if you see little bubbles, then that will help you figure out where that leak is. Worst case scenario, if you are near cold running water, you can submerge it and do the same thing. Create a little pocket, and it should spit out tiny bubbles. So, like take your waders and create a like a golf ball or a racquetball sized pocket of air, and by bunching up that fabric like in your hand, and then having it stick out the top into like a little like bubble, and then hold it underwater, and then gently squeeze the air out, making sure it's coming out through the waders. And they're still going to be mostly watertight, so there should only be one little spot where you're seeing tiny bubbles form. They're probably not going to gush out, but you're going to see tiny bubbles form, or maybe even just one bubble form. Again, same thing. Now you have an idea of where that hole is. It's important. This is why I say the flashlight thing is the best thing to do, because now you have to dry that off. Even with those really quick drying UV epoxies, you want to make sure you dry off the surface, both in the inside and the outside of your waders. If you skip this step, then that is not going to bond well. It's not going to cure well, and you're just going to be frustrated. You're going to blame the product as opposed to the repair job. So anyway, all that to say, veteran fly fishing, that is an excellent question. I'm happy to elaborate and give more information on any of these topics. So I went through this relatively quickly. I kind of want to add something else. What do you think? Is that against the rules or no? Hey, well, with over 400 episodes, I guess I can kind of break the rules a little bit. All right, and this actually is a comment on another Instagram post that was reposting an Instagram reel that I made. And it is from Andy Weiner, who wrote Down by the River. It is a great kid's book, beautifully illustrated. It is not cheesy or hokey. It is just pleasant and fun. And it has one of the best inside covers and on both the front and the back that you'll ever see. But this is what Andy wrote. He said, I ran across this great Instagram account. Oh, that's me. Featuring fly fishing books, including Down by the River. I'm happy to share the kind words about the book, which to me perfectly capture it. I'm very grateful for such a nice feature. Check out Casting Across for lots more about books and fly fishing. You can find the book here, and he puts a link in his post with some options for purchasing, but any bookstore can get it, and most fly shops can as well. It's been in print for 8 plus years, and just has 8th printing ordered, working to keep it in print and in the public eye. So this is huge, to have an 8th printing of a fly fishing book, 8th printing of a kid's fly fishing book. That's fantastic. And so that was back in the springtime that Andy shared that. But it's a great book, Down by the River. And this kind of thing, like, all right, so I talk about some of the stuff that I enjoy about Casting Across, right? So one of the things I enjoy is just sticking my toes in the fly fishing world, like I have been doing one way or another for most of my life. Another one is exposing people to new things. I think that's awesome. But I also love sharing people's good stuff with other people. Like, to me, that's huge. So I do hear from all sorts of folks all the time, but this is just a cool comment from Andy Weiner, the author of Down by the River. So definitely check that book out. And pass it along to a young person in your life. And if you have any questions about that book or any of the book I talk about, don't hesitate to let me know. You can reach out with a question, a comment, an accusation, whatever it may be. Matthew@castingacross.com, Matthew@castingacross.com. All right, this week, what was on the website? It's hard to remember. I record these usually on like Wednesday or Thursday. And so to think back, what happened on Monday? What did I write on Sunday? Sometimes that takes a little bit of time. But this week, the article was called You, Me, and 400 Fly Fishing Podcast Episodes. So here I talk a little bit about why I did the podcast, how I'm doing the podcast, how I'm not doing the podcast. Then I share the top 3 episodes of all time and the top 3 from, I think, this year. So you can access those and they'll open up in your browser, or they'll go right to your, Spotify, Apple Podcast Player, whatever it may be. In case you're a new listener, this is a great way to see some of the things that, thousands and thousands of other people thought was worth listening to. So that was on Monday. And then Wednesday is Video Wonderful Waterlines, in which I share and show Riverhorse Nakadate's waterlines. I mentioned that in the podcast last week. There's going to be more content coming in the coming weeks about this book, because it's just a real treat. I really enjoyed it. I read a lot of fly fishing books, and this one was a lot of fun. This week's recommendation on the podcast, something I do intermittently, and I figured I would go ahead and do it again because we're at 401 episodes. All right, here we go. If you listen to the podcast, but you are not subscribed to the podcast email update, or excuse me, the website email update, go and do that. You get 1 email a week, and it gives you not only the topic of the podcast, which you probably have seen already because it comes through in your podcast app, but also the other 2 articles. And so you can either take them or leave them. If you listen and you read, but you don't watch the YouTube videos, then go over to YouTube at Casting Across and go ahead and subscribe there. And I would say, any other derivation thereof. So subscribe to all the stuff because everything's a little bit different. There's some overlap, but things are a little bit different. I'm always very concise in what I write, a little bit more verbose in what I say on the podcast, and very, very, singularly focused in what happens on YouTube. So a little bit of a different take on how I present the fly fishing content and those 3 channels. So that's episode recommendation part A. Part B is please share it with somebody. Share it with a friend, family member, new angler, TU chapter, whatever it may be. That's how I like to see this thing grow in an organic and in a fun way. So there you have it. Well, thanks for listening to the Casting Across Fly Fishing podcast. Please subscribe to your favorite podcast app and rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Then head over to castingacross.com for 3 posts a week on the people, places, and things that go into the pursuit of fish.